Okay, this is my audience. Suppose you are living in a community where your mothers, your sisters, your daughters, and your best friends could just vanish into thin air. Now imagine the response from the local law enforcement is just a shared brush and a shrug off. Imagine where your reality is where the loved ones go missing and think instead of emergency alerts, you get met with search parties, red tape, media silence, and the complete lack of data. This is the living, breathing reality for thousands of indigenous families throughout across North America right now at this very moment. This emergency is happening within our borders. This is the crisis of the missing and the murdered indigenous women. Some frequently refer to this as MMIW. This is not just a tragic statistic, this is a great systematic failure. We must advocate for federal legislative reform. We must demand standardized data tracking. We should advocate for the elimination of jurisdictional loopholes and let these are the things that let predators target the indigenous women with the virtual impunity. Through the research into the reports in the United States Department of Justice, legal scholarship, and the database audits by the Urban Indian Health Institute, I have examined the deep systematic legal deserts. This is what allows the violence to continue. Today I will discuss the devastating side of this problem. We will also discover uncovering the legal process plus the social causes behind it. I will also outline the urgent legislative solutions required to bring these women justice. We will begin by closely looking at the staggering yet heartbreaking scope of this crisis. The complete scale of violence against the Native Americans plus the Alaska Native American women are horrific. According to a report by the U.S. Department of Justice, Native American women are often murdered at rates more than 10 times the national average. The murder rate for indigenous women on some reservations rises to 10 times over the baseline. This marks it the third leading cause of death overall for this demographic. The tragedy does not stop with that violence itself. It is compounded by experts who would call this data invisibility. We cannot fix the problem our government rejects to accurately measure. In a landmark 2018 study by the Urban Health Institute, researchers tried to map out the crisis across the 71 major cities. They revealed 5,712 cases of missing or murdered indigenous women reported in just 2016 alone. Only 116 were ever logged into the Department of Justice federal database. Think about the thousands of women that have been completely erased from legal records. This data gap leaves families on their own. Her family is left to search the forest, ditches, and the highways all by themselves. Why is this happening, you may ask? The main cause is complex. Combined with broken legal architecture. In her book, The Beginning and the End of Rape, Sarah Dare describes the confusing web of tribal, state, and federal laws, which have helped create the jurisdictional vacuum on the native lands. Due to the historical federal restrictions, tribal courts regularly lack the legal authority to prosecute non-native offenders who have committed crimes on their tribal lands. When a crime happens, local county sheriffs, tribal police, and FBI repeatedly argue over who has the jurisdiction to investigate And even though these agencies do paperwork, the gold hours of a missing persons investigation often slips through the cracks and leading the trail to go cold. Compounding these legal maze with a chronic lack of law enforcement resources, a 2021 report by the Coalition to Stop Violence Against Native Women uncovered that many tribal justice departments are extremely underfunded. It is not unusual for two tribal officers to be tasked with patrolling a large geographical areas, sometimes the state as big as one small US state. The tribal police departments just simply do not have the forensic tools, manpower, or even the training to take on these tasks to handle these type of missing plus homicide complex cases. We must confront this social issue. Systematic bias in the media. A study published in the Feminist Media Journal, in the Feminist Media Studies, researcher Abigail Gilchrist conducted and documented a severe difference within the news coverage. It was a phenomenon that we often refer to the missing white woman syndrome. When a white woman goes missing, the nationwide news breaks out and networks all over the place. Whenever an indigenous woman goes missing, it is very rarely covered by the local police or the local papers, let alone any national television. Due to the lack of media coverage, there is no public pressure. So without this public pressure, cases are quietly shelved and marked unsolved. Ending the MMIW crisis needs a unified approach targeting legislation, data integration, along with the community support. We should first demand full funding for the Federal Surveillance Act and the Non-Visible Act. These acts, which were passed in 2020, mandate that the federal government must create mandatory standardized protocols for how law enforcement responds to these missing indigenous women and people. Passing the law is the first step. We should be advocating to guarantee that the Congress continuously finds and funds the training. We need to enforce the integration of the databases. The federal law enforcement must allow tribal police departments direct, unbound access to these national databases as the National Crime Information Center. Lastly, the change requires individual advocacy. We cannot remain silent. You can influence by using your voice to support organizations. The organization called National Indigenous Women's Resource Center delivers critical safety resources to these tribal communities. We must write our federal representatives demanding jurisdictional gap limits the tribal courts to be permanently closed. Tribal nations should be given full legal authority to arrest as well as prosecute anyone, including native or non-native. Today we explored the overwhelming reality of the missing and murdered indigenous women crisis. We have discovered the legal spaces plus systematic media unfairness that triggers these crimes to go unpunished. We have also found legislative solutions such as fully enforcing Savannah's Act with empowering the tribal authority. All of this can bring an end to the epidemic. This crisis is operated by the systematic neglect along with the demand of our active vocal advocacy to reinforce the federal reform. It is about time for us to increase our united voices. We need to apply the pressure to our lawmakers, and we need to make sure that the phrase missing and murdered is permanently changed to the phrase safe, protected, and valued. Thank you.